All right, Urza, here we are, day 3 of SLOconf 2023.
It's amazing.
So let's see. Let's first of all get through the let's go through our normal run of show here. So hey, I'm Kit. I'm the host here for SLOconf along with Urza.
And hey, I'm Mirza. I'm kind of the host too. Welcome, everyone.
We're kind of co-hosts here. Yeah. Well, we got a fun one today, but okay, day 3. A lot's been going on. We're most of the way through the schedule now. We've had 2 daily stand-ups. We've had a bunch of slow official hours, sponsor hours, slow steady hour, slow burn hour. What's left? What do we got left to do in SLOconf?
Still a bunch of fun stuff. I know for myself and for everyone else, all of us have a couple of videos left to watch. So don't sleep on that. Check out the videos. All of them are on our website and our YouTube. There's SLOconf, there's so much fun going on. There's so many more sponsor channels to check out, even if some of the sponsor hours are already gone, and to connect with people. That's like one of my favorite parts about SLOconf. So go to Slack general, share your favorite video, folks. Really use this opportunity to network and get to know more people in this industry.
Yeah, with 12 hours of new videos this year, I think it is a little overwhelming to get through the content. So I do think helping your fellow SLOconf participants out by sharing some videos is a really great way to do it. And so let's see. So we have the influx slow official hour right after this, and then tomorrow we're having our goodbye where we'll close out. And there's actually a really important one because that's where we'll unveil the swag and talk about staying connected. And we also have an amazing speaker and demo. But at the daily stand-ups today, we've got a panel with some folks. We'll get to that in just a few minutes here. And that's going to be, I think, a lot of fun. And then tomorrow, Peter is going to join us and talk about slow GPT AI. And we already this week had amazing guests. I mean, what did you think of the interview so far? It's a lot. It's a high bar to live up to.
I've loved all of them. And as someone who's been, like you said, kind of hosting this thing, I love to go back and actually watch them in later on when I can concentrate. All of them are on YouTube. Was really fun to have Michael here yesterday. We gifted his books to a lucky winner. So that's been really fun having someone really exciting news. Paul been really lucky with our speakers this year.
All right, Urza, I'm taking over a little bit because you're kind of cutting out a little bit. So I'm going to just kind of, it's okay. You can keep talking. Let's thank Influx. First of all, it's about time. Influx Data, slow official sponsor at SLOconf, and they're having their sponsor hour right after this. Please go to their channel. It's the hash sponsor Influx channel, and they you can say thank you, and they have some cool stuff planned. We'll talk about it in just a second. So big thanks to Influx Data. Thank you again to AWS, another slow official sponsor. They had their slow official hour yesterday, and it was action packed, I got to say. So it's an amazing cloud-based company, the original, I guess, but thank you, AWS. And then Google Cloud. We had their sponsor hour on Monday. Steve McGee, who's actually joining us in a little bit here, led a very cool session at that. Google Cloud is making it possible to run SLOconf, and we really appreciate what they've done for us this year. Our slow burn sponsors, thank you, everybody. And I hope everybody got a chance to go and thank them in their channels. I was chatting with a bunch of these guys during the slow burn sponsor hours Monday and Tuesday. And then our slow steady sponsors, which was this morning and yesterday afternoon. Thank you so much to all of the slow steady sponsors for being part of SLOconf and making it happen. The local events, we're partway through all the local events, aren't we?
We are. We've had some amazing ones so far. I've been sharing the pictures on Twitter. They're all over the general Slack. Yes, what do you think, Kit?
I got to dial into Chennai last night and give a demo of Slow GPT, and I also played Page at 3 a.m. with them. I had a lot of fun dialing into that. They seem like they were having a great time. Poznan's going on right now. So there's only a few left. Sunnyvale's later today. London's tomorrow. So yeah, it's really exciting, and everybody's having, everything I've heard has been really positive. Great time. All right. Oh, this is just the recap from yesterday. So Urza, what did you put together?
So so many amazing things happened yesterday. We had we played a game at the Daily Stand-Up that was fun. We had some great sponsor hours. AWS was running a live sponsor hour, actually, when they covered different cool topics. We've had over 2.5 thousand views on YouTube, which is amazing, which has concluded to 153 watch hours, which is great. All of you are just watching these videos. And local events, missing something?
Oh, no, you're just breaking up a little bit. Yes, awesome. There's so much in the viewership on the hours and everything. It's like, it's great. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving. All right. One thing we wanted to plug today is SLOconf Monthly, and we'll talk more about this, I think, tomorrow. But SLOconf happens all year. It's not just during the big event, and we meet every month virtually. We used to do it locally in Seattle, but small thing called the pandemic got in the way. But we've been meeting virtually pretty much every month. And Urza, you run this. This is your event now. You organize the speakers and everything else. And what do people do if they want to speak at SLOconf Monthly?
So yes, please reach out to me if you would like to speak at SLOconf Monthly. It's a very pretty similar to the SLOconf event, how it's run, short talks, no sales pitch. So reach out to me at airs@noble9.com to speak, and see you there. I will announce a speaker very, very soon, so stay tuned for that.
Awesome. All right. And the how to SLOconf, I think everybody's figured it out by now, but we got the Zoom daily stand-up. That's our live portion. The general Slack channel is where discussions are happening, and there's lots and lots of channels there. Make sure you introduce yourself if you haven't already, and share a pet pick. And of course, watch speaker videos, share speaker videos, give your thoughts, feedback, comments, and thank the speakers for the time and effort they put into that. Urza, you picked out 4 talks for people to go check out. These look pretty good.
Yeah, these are some of my favorite talks. Please check them out. Again, all of them different subjects. All of them are about SLOs, different levels. So check them out and let us know what you think.
I like that you picked talks that are not from vendors, by the way. These are all end users. These are all companies that we've all heard of across multiple different industries. It's this kind of an amazing thing how SLOs can apply to pretty much any technology business problem and can have an impact. And these are people who are talking about this, not trying to sell you SLOs. They're telling you about their experience. So I think that's a really great approach to take. And that's why we love this conference. So there you go. And then the other thing, if you want to go a bit deeper across all the content, and there's so much of it, you will not be able to finish it by the end of SLOconf, I'm sure. But we have all these different tracks, or series that Alex Hidalgo curated. This will get you through, quickly through whichever topic you care about the most. And we have a discussion channel in Slack for each. So the speakers are all hanging out there. Go talk to them. And please, keep the conversation going. All right. And then without further ado, we're going to welcome our panel to the stage. So if you're on the panel, please go ahead and turn on your camera and turn on your voice. So to kick this off, I want to start with you, Sasha. I mean, the topic of our panel is who's afraid of the big bad SLO? And I won't say big bad slow. I'll say big bad SLO because we're having a debate about pronunciation right now. I'll start with you, Sasha. Why are people afraid to show others in their organization their current level of reliability?
Yeah, thanks. So first of all, let me quickly introduce myself. I'm Sasha Rosenbaum. I've been in the industry for about 20 years. I've been in development, operations, product management, what have you, every role possible. I've seen people make many mistakes, and I've also seen people kind of improve and evolve. And so currently I'm an ergonatic, and we are helping people improve their practices around DevOps, SRE, platform engineering, IT in general. So my goal is to help more people get better at stuff we've learned works, right? So to come back to your question, everybody's afraid of SLOs. So implementing SLOs is hard if to get from bottom up, right? If I'm an individual contributor, it's hard for me to organize all the stakeholders that are required to talk about reliability. If I'm an executive, I might be afraid that if let's say I've been in the business for 10 years and we've never measured our reliability, I might be afraid that like the first time we measure it, we're just going to come up with horrible results. And that's very scary to do. And that's very scary to report to my leadership, right? So I think the other part of it is not just about fear, but about ability. So most companies we talk to actually don't have any meaningful metrics surrounding their reliability. They barely measure availability, right? So they have pretty monitoring dashboards and they can tell me how well their CPU utilization was for the last 20 days, but they don't know essentially how to translate it into reliability or user experience, right? And so there's a huge learning curve that is very difficult to go over.
Yeah, well, it's a very interesting point about that. And what I was kind of thinking, Jason, you and I think spoke about this a while back, that there's really kind of three parts to adopting a new thing like this, right? You have the motivation to get the team to do what they want to do. You got to make it easy for them to do it. And you have to not sort of shame people for where they are today, right? It doesn't matter if they're adopting a new weight loss program or new technology. But what do you think there's shame involved in this? Do you think this is something people are ashamed of the metrics that they're currently at, and that's why they aren't willing to share it with their teams?
Yeah, thanks, Kit. First, introductions. My name's Jason Meltzer. I'm a consulting partner in the cloud consulting organization at Cognizant. But SRE and SLOs have been my passion. At Cognizant, I launched our SRE community of practice, and I'm also a founding contributor to SLODLC.
Oh yeah!
Again, thrilled. Yeah, shameless plug. Cognizant's thrilled to be a sponsor of SLOconf for the second year in a row, and I personally am excited about being part of this awesome and growing community. Kit, back to your question. So typical consulting fashion, I'm going to answer it with another question, right? I don't think people are really afraid or shameful to share the reliability numbers. I think to Sasha's point, I think they don't know them, right? And that's scary, right? We talk to a lot of clients about reliability, and again, Sasha took the words out of my mouth, right? They love showing. We see lots of pretty dashboards and all kinds of metrics. But when you ask them which of those are important to the users, the conversation stops, right? They shut down. So I think a lot of this starts with education. Education, establishing a strong foundation removes the fear, removes the shame, and makes reliability a collective conversation, right? And SLODLC is a great example of that foundation to provide a common language and methodology that people can work from. From there, it's a great jumping off point. You can empower folks to really have the candid conversation and collaboration necessary to remove the shame, remove the fear, and make those reliability numbers and those conversations productive.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Marco, I want to pivot to you for a second because you're our enterprise guy, Accenture. Why is achieving reliability so hard, especially in the enterprise?
Yeah. So first off, Kit, appreciate the opportunity for letting me join this panel of like-minded folks. Accenture, it's our first year of sponsorship, so looking forward to more years of sponsorship in the future. And just quick intro, I'm part of the tech strategy and advisory practice within Accenture, senior manager, and as Kit mentioned, my focus is on enterprise DevOps and SRE transformation work. And so to your question, I say there are a number of reasons, right? And I'm gonna limit it to just three, right? Because we don't have much time. But first off, I'll say number one is complexity. The enterprise organizations just are large, lots of moving parts, really hard to identify and address all points of failures, right? So that's why when it comes to reliability, it's really hard to figure out where's your focus area. When it comes to establishing SLOs, especially within an enterprise organization, I mean, that's when it gets even tougher, right? Mm-hmm. How to figure it out, it's not just a tooling problem, right? It's not a technology problem. It's process, it's skills. And a lot of enterprise organizations, they have tool sprawl. So where do we start, right? Mm-hmm. How is it that we introduce this back to the business, right? And I've got a lot of stories around where business are coming to me and say, well, we do this already, right? This is monitoring. So how is this different? Second is cost. When it comes to being reliable, I mean, this is expensive, right? It requires investment in those three areas I called out: people, process, right? Not only technology. And right now, especially with the financial climate that's going on, we got debt ceiling talks. and all these bank failings. My background is primarily in financial services, but I am jumping into the utility space as well. We see this intense cost pressure, right? And so it's like, well, do you focus on reliability or do you focus on bringing new features to market so we can get that revenue back, right? And then last, but certainly not least, and not all of them, is culture. Essentially, especially within large enterprise organizations, we follow the ITIL model. Not to say that it's wrong, right? It's just, it has the siloed nature, right? And so for developers and engineers, they're not accountable for responsibility, right? So there's no culture of accountability and responsibility, right? So I mean, in short, those are the top 3 reasons I would call out. I mean, we could talk about this more, right? And we can get in deep. But yeah, I essentially say from an enterprise perspective, that those are the challenges that I see with my clients.
So I want to talk to Steve McGee a little bit. You brought up, Jason brought up the slow DLC, and Mark was talking a little bit about culture change. But Steve, from your point of view, I know there's some interesting open source projects. Can you talk about kind of the landscape around what open source and what methodologies and what cultural changes you're involved in from your point of view?
Sure. Can you hear me okay? My
We can hear
mic
you,
was acting up. Cool. I'm Steve McGee. I'm a reliability advocate for Google Cloud. I was an SRE inside Google for about a decade, but I've been doing this type of work for maybe 2 decades, so something like that. My job is to work with cloud customers to figure this stuff out. I've been a cloud customer also. I actually left Google for a couple of years to kind of do that job. So I totally get it. It's a tough job. One of the things that I found both when I was at that company as well as since then working with lots of other companies is you got to figure out where people already are today. You don't really know how to kind of like guide people forward unless you know where they're already starting at. A few friends started something called r9y.dev, and it's exactly a model to do this, which is it's like a map. It looks, if you think of the game Civilization, it's a tech tree. And if you want to go to space, you have to first learn ceramics, that kind of idea. Since then, also, I learned about slow DLC, and I found that this was like a very similar approach, which is how do we get people to understand all the process about it, executing one specific capability, which is SLOs. So there's a talk actually in this conference with me and Sal, and we talk about R9Y is sort of like this, like broad, shallow track, and slow DLC is like this deep, narrow track about one of the capabilities that is in r9y.dev. So each of those is like a community of practice, which is a bunch of people that are all contributing. They're all trying to like help each other out. Because if you don't have that, you're really just kind of like stumbling around in the dark, trying to figure it out, trying to like reference these, holy tomes and trying to figure out how they attach to your life. It's really difficult. So it really only works when you have a good community in place to help you do exactly that. The little map thing is just a little way to start a conversation, really.
And well, last but not least, I want to bring a question to JP here. And JP, so you're in charge of business development at Noble9. Obviously, we work together and everything. But how did all these folks come together? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
That's a really good question, Kit. But I think before I answer your question, I just want to thank you and Urza for the vision and just the sheer brute force effort in putting SLOconf together.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much.
This is my first SLOconf, and I've got so much gratitude for the incredible and connected global community. The vibe is intense.
Yep. Thank you. It's only my third,
had to get it off my chest.
Thanks, JP.
But going back to this, I think we all here share a common goal, right? We want to support our mutual customers and each other on the journey towards achieving better reliability. And many customers especially don't have a place to start, or maybe a way of being able to scale and take things to the next level. Me being on the commercial side, it's about engaging a rich ecosystem, working together in order to support mutual customers. And along this line of thought, and yes, a shameless plug, today we announced the Noble9 Delivery Network, N9DN, which is really all about pulling together a delivery ecosystem. And the ultimate goal, accelerate customer reliability, right? But that alone isn't crazy special. Here's what I think is special. It's really and truly humbling that we get to work with the best of the best. Right here, we've got Ergonautic, Cognizant, Accenture, and others, and also Teleon as well, John, Nearform, F33, vScepter, Coravant. these are all part of the initial launch today. So thank you for that. And then
Nice.
also a completely unique approach to services delivery. And this is all based on publicly available community tools, just like Steve just mentioned. The community has very rich resources right in front of us, R9Y, SLO DLC, OpenSLO, which address the full software lifecycle, I should say the reliability lifecycle. So this is what we've got to offer, and I'm just super excited about it.
Oh, that's JP. I can see the excitement. I love it. Sasha, how can people start? Where should teams start on this journey? Where do you think?
So from our experience, if you walk into your organization and you start talking about what are you aiming for in SLOs, right? Everybody's aiming for 5 nines or like 100%, and everybody's convinced that they can't live without with less availability, reliability. So it's kind of not a good place to start, because usually their actual reality doesn't measure up to their aspirations. So a good place to start is SLIs. So kind of if you look at the SLO DLC framework, start with defining the SLI, and then we usually recommend that you measure it for a month or two, right? Because you're going to discover that measurement is not so easy, and there might be some changes you need to make and stuff like that. And the other thing is you're going to discover what your actual reliability is, right? So you if you're at 2 nines today, maybe try to get to 3, not to 5, right? So
Right.
kind of manage your aspirations to be realistic.
And Kid,
And
just
other
to-
people have thoughts. Yeah, go ahead, Mark. I'm going to pull up something else while we're doing this, but you go ahead.
Yeah,
answer.
I was just gonna say just to add to that, another area where I'd say I like to tell my clients where to start. Sometimes it's just looking at existing data, right? And maybe starting at incident management data, looking at your overall incident volume. And the reason being is I'm gonna keep going back to the theme of silos. When you ask engineer and development teams, or even your product owners, right, what are some of the critical user journeys that we should probably be focused on? They're not sitting on the production support side where they're getting all those issues, right? So making sure that we marry together and complement that. And sometimes just looking at where is that we have high volume of incidents around specific themes, these might be areas where you can probably consider starting to look at.
Yeah, I would to chime in. I would also start with asking your users, right? 5 9 seems to be a very kind of tech-centric aspiration, when the reality is your users may be okay with 4 nines or 3 nines or 85%, right? I mean, and so start with asking your users, and also just start with something, right? There seems to be a lot of angst around getting that SLO perfectly out of the gate. It's a process. You're going to iterate, so it's important to start with something. And have conversations of, is it realistic? What are the trade-offs that we're going to need to make to get there? But it's important just to get started.
Yeah,
Well, thank you, panel.
Let me add one thing.
Go ahead. Yeah.
A really good way to build that, if you can't actually ask your customers, is just to build a loop between your incident response and your SLOs to show that the SLI that we think is good is actually either predictive or is indicative of actual incidents that we know did impact customers. So kind of combining, SLOs and SLIs and the learning from incident community, if you can kind of work with all of these together, you can get a good sense of what's actually harming your customers and what really doesn't matter too much. And one more part about when you're first introducing SLOs, you got to make sure that you have the precision in your monitoring and the accuracy, and make sure you know the difference between those two. Because if you don't have those, you're going to make SLOs out of these really unstable foundation pieces, and it's not going to work. And you're going to blame SLOs as a concept, but really it's the data isn't quite right yet. So you got to really make sure you get that down first.
Awesome. Thank you, Steve. Okay, panel, you guys are going to play a game with me. But before we do that, I want to tell the audience here, we're about to do a giveaway. Okay. You can see the rules here. Respond or ignore. It's pretty simple. John, are you there?
I am.
All right, hit us. What's the giveaway?
All right. Well, first of all, Talian's excited to be part of not only a sponsor of the SLOconf, but a charter member of the Noble 9 Delivery Network. So we're going to jump right into the giveaway. To help with the critical stakeholder buy-in around SLOs that the panel just did a great job of diving into, we're going to give away 3 books. And this is going to be super easy for everybody. Go to the Slack general channel, post your favorite SLOconf 2023 video, and tell us why you like it. And then we're going to pick 3 winners at random. Thank you.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. All right. So because the panel, you guys are going to play this together. So here's the first card. And by the way, I have the physical card too, because I figured why not bring the card to the table. So simple question, respond or ignore. I give you 30 seconds to decide. Thoughts? Steve, what do you think? The audience
is it a single request failed?
Says production app equals failed. I don't know. Is there enough information on this card to know if you can ignore it? I don't know.
Not a very good alert.
Probably
I would
not.
say
Yeah.
I would file a bug immediately about the quality of this alert sucks. Like,
Okay. So what are we going with? Respond or ignore?
I'm going to respond to this one though.
I
Sasha?
feel like I would ignore it, but I would follow up the next morning unless I get 10 more of these.
Let's see what was said. Respond. It could just be an issue with your check, but if there's an issue with your DNS records, users could not be able to access the site. Probably best to get up and check on it. Oh, well. DNS, I think, is the giveaway because it's always DNS. All right, next card. Oh, come on. Next card. Oops. I skipped one. Sorry. Okay, hopefully you didn't see that. All right, so here's a squiggly little chart. P95 latency exceeds 400 milliseconds. Respond or ignore?
I'd say ignore.
Any disagreement? I mean, it did cross the threshold here, so.
Yeah,
it's
but it's
prob-
just one peak. It's not consistent. And I'm not seeing the burn rate for the error budget,
Ignore.
so it's lacking information.
All right,
Ignore.
so let's see. Ignore. Even though latency temporarily went over 400 milliseconds, it quickly returned to normal. Using an SLO would reduce false alarms like this alert. Safely ignore. Nice job, Marco. Good stuff. All right. This is the most controversial card in the entire deck. So I'm putting it out here. CEO says the site isn't loading for them. 3 a.m, you get this page. What do you do? Respond or ignore?
So I think I've seen the answer for this one, but like personally, if I want to, still work at the company, I respond, right? But whether or
I
not
still want to work
this
at the
is what
company.
but whether or not you should do that is controversial.
So somebody said load a static site on the CTO's laptop. Have to respond as the CEO. I've had
would
CEOs
say-
that would fire you if you didn't respond to that.
I would say respond and check that your internet connection is working. Like if he could load his Gmail. Can you load your Gmail? If you can't, then then I'll
Have
get
you
on it.
tried turning it on and off again?
Yeah. Have you tried rebooting it? Okay. So this is interesting because in this version of the game, we say ignore. And the reason we say that is that your CEO is one of many, albeit an important user, right? It's more likely it's an issue with their Wi-Fi or setup other than real downtime, unless you have other signals. And I think unless you have other signals is the caveat there. Like you all just said, like, hey, maybe just test it yourself and see if it's working for you. So this is, I would say ignore with a caveat. Anyway, thank you so much for playing the game. And that was a lot of fun. I hope you had fun with it. Just to wrap up the panel though, before we finish, Steve, I have a question for you. Did Google invent SLOs?
No, we did not. So I did a little research on this, and it looks like the term SLOs was first noticed, according to Google Trends, at least in the 60s. So it's been in lots of other engineering traditions. I think what Google did was applied this concept. The thing that's novel is that we applied this concept to distributed systems. Then we popularized it and showed how other companies could do the same thing. That I think was like an additive piece of what Google did with SLOs. But no, we did not. I have a little bit of a timeline here. It looks like the first time it was used inside of Google was around 2005. And then it was popularized by a guy named John Wilkes in 2009. And then it became official in 2012 by Cody Smith. He wrote a doc, which is called SLO Style, which is kind of the canonical starting point of SLOs within Google. Officially. You
should share that timeline in the Slack. That'd be great. Okay. Hopefully people are playing the giveaway game right now. And we're going to go back to, I'm going to pull up my slides again. Sorry. I want to thank you all very much for being in the panel. Thank you for your insights. Thank you for being part of SLOconf. We really appreciate it. And if there's any questions in the audience, these folks will stick around for a minute and we can take any questions. But
so can I ask a parting question? What pronunciation did we agree on?
We have to check the Twitters. I think tomorrow we'll have the final word on that, if I'm not mistaken, or so.
I will share that.
We'll find out what the survey says. I think SLO is the current winner in that. But anyway, thank you so much for being here. Okay, folks, right after this is Influx Data Sponsor Hour. They're a SLOfficial sponsor. This is our third and final SLOfficial sponsor hour. They've got some really cool stuff planned, some demos, things like that. Just head on over to the sponsor influx data channel. You can see it in the lower left corner here. It starts literally right now. I mean, technically 5 minutes ago, but it starts now. And you can go there and learn all about their solution and how they're helping, how they use OTel for SLOs, cool stuff over there. And then just to find, I think that's it, right? We thank our media sponsors. Thank you for all the media coverage. Media sponsors, you can find tons of coverage on SLOconf, on all of these sites, interviews with speakers, with sponsors, etc. So please check that out. And thank you. And let's slow.
Mhm. Thank you, everyone. Let's slow.
Let's see if there's any
Thank you all.
questions. All right. Thanks, everybody.